So you have two extremes, right? On one extreme, you have people that don't feel much, right? They're not attached to emotion. They can't feel anything. They're borderline psychopathic, right? They're very cold. They're very detached. And on the other extreme, you have people who feel everything, right? They're hypersensitive to feelings. They're hypersensitive to emotions. They're they're pretty much emotional hemophiliacs, right? Every emotion cuts deep. They feel everything, right? And one of these emotions is anger, right? Anger is a form of energy that a lot of people have trouble with, right? Anger is an energy that just doesn't disappear, right? Anger is energy, it needs to be utilized, right? And your mind has to be stronger than your emotion. Your mind has to be stronger than your anger, right? If you think of the worst decisions you've ever made, they're usually being guided by emotion, not the mind, not logic. It's usually emotion, right? You have, for example, prisoners, right? People sitting in a prison cell right now because they made permanent decisions based on temporary feelings, temporary emotions. They got angry and they did something that, led them to be imprisoned. I'm reminded of an old Japanese fable, right? It's a Japanese samurai. And this Japanese samurai, he was given the task of avenging his overlord's death, right? His ruler, right? You have a Japanese samurai who was given this duty. You need to avenge the murder of your overlord, right? Your ruler, your boss, pretty much, right? And it was his responsibility to find the man that killed his lord, right? And kill him, right? It's a revenge story. And this Japanese samurai was known for being lethal, right? There's different variations of this fable. The samurai had no emotional attachment to the job, right? To him, it was just business, right? So he was tasked to finding this man that killed his overlord, and he's supposed to find him and kill him, right? Again, to him, it's just business, right? Nothing personal. So he finally finds the man who's responsible for the death of his overlord, and he pins him against a corner. He has a samurai sword, right? The Japanese samurai has a sword, and right before he's about to strike him, right at that second that he's about to kill him, he's taking out his samurai sword, right? He's taking it out to slash him. And the man who killed his overlord is looking at the Japanese samurai, and he spits in his face, right? As a last act of retaliation, he spits on the samurai's face, right as he's taking his samurai sword out, right? Right as he's taking his sword out, the guy spits on the samurai. He just, the amount of disrespect is unbelievable, right? When somebody spits on your face, that's next level. So the samurai's he's about to finish him off. He feels the spit on his face. And what he does is he gets his samurai sword, he puts it back in, he puts it away, and then he leaves. He doesn't kill him. He just leaves. Right? And later when he's asked, well, why didn't you kill him? You were given this task to avenge your overlord, your boss, your ruler. You've done this a million times. And when the time came, you let the guy live. Why didn't you kill him? Right? And the Japanese samurai said, I couldn't kill him because I was angry. Do you see what I'm saying? He knew that he couldn't act out of anger. You can act with anger, but you can't act out of anger. He understood, if I kill him, now it's personal, right? Whereas before it was all just business. After that spit, right? Now it's personal. Now he has an emotional charge. And he understood that you can't let anger take over. When it does, you just have to either walk away or you let it sit, right? You maintain composure, you maintain frame, but you don't act out of anger, right? The Japanese samurai understood that when you here's the thing, when you have therapists, right? You have therapists that tell you you need to let the anger out, right? They tell you that if you have anger that you need to vent it, right? You have to vent out the energy. That's what they tell you, right? That if you express the energy, if you express the anger, you get rid of it, right? Get it out of your system. They say get the anger out of your system. When you express anger, you're not getting it out of your system. You're feeding the monster, right? That expression of anger isn't letting the anger out. It's just energizing the anger. It's making it worse, right? This is the Japanese samurai understood that when you act out of anger, you're creating a pattern, right? You're conditioning yourself to act out of anger. Venting out the anger, expressing the anger, doesn't make it go away. You're just feeding the monster. You're making it worse, right? You're energizing anger. You're giving it momentum when you express it, right? You're not venting it out. You're not getting rid of it. You're energizing it. You're making it worse, right? All you're doing is you're giving it temporarily relief, right? Like there's a very common analogy about anger, right? About the burning room, right? You might not have heard of this. Maybe, I don't know. There's a very common analogy about a burning room, right? And there's a fire inside the room. The smoke, right, in the room is the anger. And when they tell you gotta vent, they're basically saying open up a window, right? You open up the window, some of the smoke gets out, some of the anger, but letting that smoke out doesn't get rid of the fire, right? Opening a window doesn't do much. All you're doing is you're letting out the anger to get temporary relief, but you're not dealing with the original problem, which is the burning fire inside of the room, right? What's happening is you don't need to express the anger, you need to decompress, right? You're not expressing the anger, you need to decompress the anger. Decompress means you're reducing the pressure. You need to reduce the pressure instead of letting out the pressure, right? Like I said, letting it out gives it momentum. You're energizing it, right? So expression of anger is giving it more momentum, right? You need to decompress. When you express the anger, you express just enough anger to get temporary relief, and then whatever's left in the burning room gets suppressed, right? So you express a certain amount of anger, and whatever's left inside gets suppressed, right? Do you see the problem? You're not supposed to express or suppress. You're supposed to decompress. Reduce the pressure. Deal with the original source, right? Everything else is just a band-aid, right? Now, when you do express anger, you're not reducing the anger, you're rehearsing it, right? You're giving it a pattern. You're conditioning yourself to do this more and more often. You're giving it energy. So you're strengthening it. You're strengthening the pattern of anger. Now, a lot of people say that when you express the anger, they feel a sense of relief after. And that's because they express anger until they're exhausted, right? Like people say, oh, when I'm angry, I like to go punch I like to go punch the bag or something, right? Like boxing, for example, right? I remember there was an interesting take that Mike Tyson had when he was talking about his training, right? Mike Tyson always has had controlled rage, right? Mike Tyson during his boxing career, when he was in the ring, he was a very angry man. But when he was in there, it was controlled rage. There was an ingredient of discipline, right? I remember he talked about hitting the punching bag in boxing, right? You're punching the bag, and when he's punching the bag, he's doing head movement. He's ducking, he's weaving as he's punching the bag, right? And a lot of people would say, well, why are you moving? Why are you moving side to side? The bag's just there. The bag's not gonna hit you back, right? No one's trying to punch you. Why are you doing this while you're punching the bag? Whereas other boxers, normally they just punch the bag, right? They're just flat-footed, they're stationed, and they're punching the bag. They're practicing. Mike Tyson would move side to side as he's punching the bag. And they would say, why are you moving this? Why are you moving your body? That's so unnecessary. Just practice your punch. And Mike Tyson would say, you're practicing your punch, I'm practicing the fight. He's trying to rehearse the fight. In the fight, he's gonna have to move, right? To him, it didn't make sense to be flat-footed, punching the bag, and then expect that to carry into a real fight in the ring. In the ring, you're gonna have to move, right? Because he understood that expression, in this case, that physical expression of controlled rage is creating a pattern. His body's getting used to the conditioning, right? He's doing the rehearsal of the fight, right? When you express the anger, you're creating a pattern, right? That's what he was doing. He's creating that pattern, that muscle memory, so when he was in a real fight, he could move at will. Other boxers, they would just punch the bag flat-footed, and then when the fight came and they had to move out of the way, it didn't come natural to them. To Mike Tyson, it was second nature. Because when he was practicing, when he was rehearsing, when he was releasing that anger, he understood that you're not reducing the anger. You're just conditioning it. You're creating a pattern, right? In his case, it was a pattern to fight, right? Do you see what I'm saying? You're not expressing the anger with the hopes of getting rid of it. You're making it worse, right? You're energizing, you're creating a pattern. The anger is energy, and energy is power, right? At the end of the day, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be, and that's life.